What's up, guys? This is Rascal Ryan 521, and in this video we're going to be looking at The Walking Dead Season 7, giving my overall opinion on the season. We're going to go through it episode by episode, and then at the very end of the video I'm going to be giving my thoughts on the overall season, and how I felt they could have improved it, things I liked about it, and just kind of my overall general opinions on it. So I want to go over each episode individually. I'm going to try to keep each episode maybe down to about 30 seconds a piece. You know, I don't want to go into too much detail, maybe even shorter for some of them, because I don't have a lot to say about some of the episodes, but then other episodes, you know, I have quite a mouthful to say. So we're going to kind of, I'm not going by a script at all, so we're going to kind of, you know, just try to, I don't even know what I was going to say there, but yeah, we're going to kind of play it by ear, and we're just going to go through this video, and I hope the format of this is good. You know, I want to try and, every time I try to do a list or something like this, or I try to talk about a show or a movie, I end up rambling on for way too long, so I'm keeping my eye on the time, and I'm going to try and condense this down a little bit. Alright, so let's get started. And so, of course, we have Season 7, Episode 1, The Day Will Come When You Won't Be. Fantastic premiere, loved it. Spoiler alert, by the way, for the entire season when I go through the episodes. That should be obvious. But yeah, I love the way they handled Glenn and Abe's deaths. I felt the cinematography was great, and all the add-on stuff with, you know, Negan taking Rick in the RV and breaking him down, and then the scene with Carl, you know, Rick almost having to chop off his arm, and then the end scene with the dinner table. Really sad episode, great premiere, made up for the cliffhanger in Season 6 by far. Absolutely loved it. Episode 2, The Well, I thought was a really good introduction episode to the Kingdom. I got a little tired of kind of Carol, just kind of, I don't know, Carol wasn't as interesting in this episode, but I liked the dynamic of, like, Ezekiel and Morgan. I kind of like those two characters meeting, and then I really liked the conversation between Carol and Ezekiel at the end of the episode, too, about where he tells her about his backstory and everything. So, a pretty solid episode. Episode 3, The Cell. This episode, I thought, once again, probably could have been shortened down a little bit. I feel like, you know, like The Well, they had some extra stuff in here. But overall, I thought this one was done really well. I liked the scenes with Dwight chasing down that one savior that ran away. I kind of like seeing Daryl getting broken down a little bit. The Easy Street meme is, of course, awesome. And then pretty much every scene with Negan in this episode is great, too. So, cool introduction episode to the Sanctuary. Number 4, we have Service. I feel like this episode is a little too underrated. Everybody always talks about how this episode wasn't very good, but I actually really liked it. You know, of course, we get Negan coming to visit Alexandria. We get some great dialogue, such as the scene where he meets Father Gabriel, which might be the most hilarious scene in all The Walking Dead. Absolutely love it. And then, of course, we get the conflict with Spencer set up, and the scene with Rick telling Michonne about Shane. So, yeah, I actually really like Service. I think this is one of the best of the season. Episode 5, Go-Getters. Once again, probably could have been shortened down a little bit. I'm going to try to stop saying that because I'll touch on that more at the end of the video. But Go-Getters, I thought was a pretty decent episode. I liked it when I first saw it, but thinking back, it wasn't the best, I suppose. The scenes with Carl and Enid probably could have been cut down a little bit. But the scenes with at the hilltop with Simon and Gregory and Jesus, I thought were all great, because the actors that play all three of those characters are really great actors. So, yeah, and then I love the ending reveal with Carl in the truck and Jesus finding him there. I love that they did that comic storyline in the show, so I like that setup. Episode 6, Swear. My new personal least favorite episode of The Walking Dead. I understand it's essential to build up the story, to build up the Oceanside for all-out war, but at the same time, an entire episode of just Tara, and not cutting it. This episode, I was probably just checking my phone for, like, as this episode was airing, which I never do during Walking Dead. I was just so bored with this one. But, you know, the actress who plays Tara did a great job, of course. She doesn't, I don't think she can really carry an episode, but for the material she was given in the script, I think she did a good job. I kind of like that they sent Heath out missing, and the thing they're probably going to do with him is maybe turn him into a Whisper or something, bring him back a few seasons from now. I really like that, but yeah, other than that, I felt a lot of this episode could have been shortened up, and yeah, I wasn't a big fan of it. Episode 7, Sing Me a Song. Love Sing Me a Song. Great episode. I love the scenes between Carl and Negan. You know, the scene where he removes the eye patch, the scene where Carl guns down Negan's men. Really cool stuff in this one. Loved it. Probably one of the best of the season for sure. Negan and Carl, the two actors, did a phenomenal job in this episode. And then number 8, episode 8, Heart Still Beating. Great mid-season finale. I love seeing the death of Spencer, the You Got No Guts scene. They adapted it perfectly, I think, for the show. I think they did a really good job with it. And then, of course, the ending being one of the best endings to an episode we've ever gotten, with the happy, everybody reuniting at the hilltop, of course, is great. And then the scene with Rick and Michonne just before that was great. And, yeah, the stuff with Rick and Aaron, I suppose, was filler in this episode, but everything else in the episode was great, so I really did like it. Episode 9, Rockin' the Road. Of course, we're in the back half of the season now. Rockin' the Road, I thought, was a pretty good premiere. I didn't love it or anything, but I really like the dynamic of Rick. I really like, Rick meeting Ezekiel for the first time, and then, them telling Morgan about what happened to Glenn and Abraham. And then, of course, Rick's really awesome speech about, the Rockin' the Road, of course, where the episode gets its title from. So, yeah, really. Oh, and then, of course, the scene with the cables and the dynamite was great. A really great add-on, too, because I don't think that was in the comics. So I think they did a really good job adding that onto this episode. Yeah, definitely. And the ending was really good, too, where they meet the Junkyard Group. Episode 10, New Best Friends. This one I thought was okay. I didn't really care for this one as much. I thought the scene with Rick fighting Winslow was awesome. I love it. Probably one of the coolest scenes of the whole season. But overall, the Junkyard Group, while they did prove to be a cool villains, like in the finale, in this episode, I feel like they just kind of wasted a lot of time on them. I don't know if they really needed to build them up that much, or at least if they're going to spend an entire episode there, they should maybe do a little bit more with it. I'm going to click on it on IMDb quick. I don't think... this is also the episode where we see Daryl reuniting with Carol, which was a really neat... I do love that reunion. I thought that scene was really great. So, I did love that. But yeah, other than that and the Winslow fight, I didn't really... this episode wasn't really one of my favorites. Episode 11, Hostiles and Calamities. This is probably my second least favorite episode of the season, behind Swear. Like Tara, I like Eugene. I think he's a great character, but he cannot really carry an episode. I feel like half of this episode is really good material, and then the other half of it I just do not care about at all. And that's all the stuff that involves like Eugene hanging out with Negan's wives. Really just did not care for most of the stuff that we saw. And when I say I don't care for it, I don't mean like it's horrible, I hated it. I just mean that overall it didn't really feel like we needed it, so... Yeah, I could have lived without that stuff. I feel like this episode could have been condensed into half an episode and then mixed with another, plot. They could have put something else in there, but, yeah. So, episode 12, Say Yes. This episode, once again, was filler, but I actually enjoyed it more than I enjoyed the previous two episodes in, the season, more than episodes 10 and 11. I think they did a good job with the Rick and Michonne stuff. I think it was kind of nice to see more of a fun, lighthearted episode. I didn't like the dumb Rick fake-out death. I understand now, because when I first saw it, I was like, nobody's that stupid, nobody actually thinks that Rick just died there. But then again, I did hear people pointing out, well, it wasn't to fake us, the audience, out, it was more to fake Michonne out, and see how she would react if Rick actually died, kind of putting things in perspective for her. So I suppose the scene is redeeming after hearing about that, and I don't even want to hear about the CGI deer. It really wasn't that bad. Everybody's blowing that way out of proportion. And then I do love the scene at the end, or towards the end, where Rick kind of has that conversation about how he couldn't save Glenn, about how he can't sleep because of it. He saved me at the start, but I couldn't save him. I thought that was a really touching scene. So, a good episode with that one. Like I said, more lighthearted, similar to the Next World that we got last season. Episode 13, Bury Me Here. I really like this one. I thought this was a great episode because Lenny James' Morgan is just so freaking great. He's probably, him, Andrew Lincoln, and Jeffrey Dean Morgan are the three best actors in the entire show, I would say. Definitely, I love all three of them, and I think Morgan might actually be, Lenny James might actually be the best actor in the show. He was, of course, great in the movie Snatch, and he's even greater in The Walking Dead. He brings so much to the character. And I love seeing his slow descent back into madness, where he kills Richard and he calls Ezekiel Dwayne. It was just a really cool to see Morgan slip back into his old ways and almost snap. So, really great episode. And then I want Jared to die next season. God, I hate Jared. Next up, we got episode 14, The Other Side. This was the Hilltop episode, I believe. Yeah, see, that's what I'm saying. This episode I kind of forgot about. I didn't even really remember this one. This episode I was kind of psyched up for because I wanted to maybe see, Negan show up because I heard a group of saviors shows up at the Hilltop was our description, and I thought maybe we'd get to see Negan finally going to the Hilltop, maybe finding out that Daryl and Maggie were alive. But even though the way they revealed it was just as cool, if not better, I was a little disappointed when it was just Simon and his men. Once again, every scene with Simon was awesome. He's really killing it in this role. I love Stephen Ogg. But yeah, not a lot happened in this episode. I didn't really care much for the whole conversation that that Rosita and Rosita and Sasha. I didn't really care that much for the dialogue they had on the rooftop, or like kind of in the sniping window. I felt like a lot of that could have just been cut out. And as much as I like what Sasha did for Rosita, I still don't understand why she would sacrifice herself, because Rosita's willing. Rosita, that would probably make more sense for her, because Rosita was the one that gave her the mission in the first place, that dragged Sasha, I keep forgetting her name. She's the one that dragged Sasha into it in the first place, so it would make sense for her to sacrifice herself. So I'm not quite sure why Sasha did it. I know it's like to redeem Abraham, or to, kind of find, try to kill Negan to get revenge for Abraham. I get it, but, I don't know if the motivation really made that much sense, but either way, I still thought this was a decent episode. Not great, but still pretty cool to see the Hilltop again. Episode 15, Something They Need. I thought this was a really good one. Of course, we see our group attacking or not attacking, but kind of robbing the Oceanside after Tara tells the group about it. We see the awesome scene with, I believe David is the savior's name, where, he goes to try to rape Sasha, pretty dark stuff, and then Negan puts the knife through his neck. I do not accept your apology. So, that was a great scene. And then, of course, we have the scene, like I said, yeah, we've got the part where at the end where Dwight meets up with the group, and I really like Tara in this episode too. I feel like they really did something great with her character, and I'm usually not the biggest fan of her character, but I think they really did I don't know why I said character like that. I didn't mean it like she's not a character. I said it like character, like I was implying she's not a character or something, like I was doing air quotes. I'm usually not the biggest fan of her character, but she really stood out to me in this episode. I really liked her. And then, of course, the finale, The First Day of the Rest of Your Life. Thought this was an awesome finale. The shootouts, of course, were amazing. The scenes with Shiva were awesome. Sasha's death, I felt like, was handled pretty well. The only weak thing I would say in this episode is that as much as I like Michael Cudlitz, I feel like the scenes with Abraham and Sasha really should have been trimmed down. I feel like that kind of took away from the episode, and those parts were really slow. And I don't feel like they needed to add all of that. I feel like they could have cut that dialogue or those flashback scenes back quite a bit, like by at least like half, But yeah, so that's my thoughts on all the individual episodes. On the season as a whole, I will say this probably is my least favorite season of The Walking Dead. Now, that doesn't mean it's trash, it's bad, I'm never going to watch it again. That's obviously not what it means, okay? We're heading into all-out war, okay? There's no way I'm not going to continue watching. And even if I was like, even if I hated it to the point where I didn't want to keep watching, I'm a diehard fan of the show. I have been ever since season 3. I started watching at season 3, but I've been a diehard fan ever since like season 4. Because I just kind of watched season 3 as a casual viewer, and then I went back and rewatched the first 2 seasons in the summer between 3 and 4, so that's kind of when I became like a diehard fan. It was like mid-2013, I think. But yeah, what was I talking about? I kind of do that sometimes. I go off on tangents. But yeah, so I think overall though, the setup was definitely needed. I feel like what they should have done, and one of my new favorite YouTubers named, or the username is MakeAPath Presents, he's touched on this in a few of his videos, and I really agree with him. I'm going to kind of paraphrase him here, about how the structure is what really hurt this season. It's not that the content we got was bad. I thought a lot of it, minus maybe some of the Terra stuff, I thought a lot of it was really good and really interesting. They just didn't structure it well. Like, I get it, they did it to save budget, maybe because they needed budget for the CGI, Shiva the tiger. Which, by the way, the CGI in Shiva I think looks really good. I don't know why people are complaining about that either. I thought it looked amazing, especially in the finale. But yeah, maybe they needed to save budget for the tiger. I don't know. I just don't, so they didn't have to pay as many actors to be in as many episodes. But I really feel like this season could have been better had they just spread out the storylines and showed us multiple communities per episode, similar to the way Game of Thrones does it, you know? I feel like maybe we could have had Spencer's death, if we would have shortened it up, I feel like Spencer's death, maybe could have been at some point in the first half, and the episode that I don't know, I'm trying to think of a way we can maybe condense the entire season into one half season, though, but that means that we would be getting All Out War in the second half of Season 7, which I feel like that should be a whole season, so that probably won't be the best idea. But yeah, so I don't know exactly what they could have done. I just feel like there was just too much filler, I think, this season. Like I said, the stuff with Eugene and the Sanctuary I didn't really care about. Speaking of Eugene, by the way, he's like my new least favorite character after everything he did to the group. I really wanted him to blow up with the truck. Josh McDermott, you do an awesome job as Eugene, but you've really become a hateable character lately. I understand why he did what he did, but we'll get into that in a future video I'll probably do soon, where I count down my favorite episodes of the show. We'll get into more on what I think of Eugene after him kind of becoming a turncoat. Yeah, so I feel like they really could have condensed the season down into, I don't want to say a half season, but maybe like a 2/3 of a season. But like I said, that's tricky, because then you have to go right into the All Out War storyline after that, and I feel like had they just, I don't mean to complain about the cliffhanger, but I feel like if they really would have shortened up episode 16 from last season, because they added a lot of filler of them just kind of driving on the road, and then some of the Carol and Morgan stuff, if they would have condensed all that down into maybe like half of what it was, condensed the premiere down into maybe half of what it was, but that's kind of tricky too, because the premiere was great and there's not much I would cut out of it. But say there's a way you can condense it, maybe condense it a little bit, and maybe take out all the RV stuff, and maybe put those two, you've condensed 2 episodes down into half episodes now. Put those 2 episodes together, so that way the finale ends at the end of episode 1, So you end there, and then the entire first half of Season 7 can be, like, it can start with Service, with, Negan arriving at Alexandria for the first time. And then you can combine the Cell and the Well into one episode, because both of those episodes were probably only, like, half-episode storylines that they stretched out. So you can combine those 2 into one episode. You can take out a lot of the stuff that we saw in, like, Go-Getters and Swear. You can probably combine those 2 into one episode as well. You see what I'm saying, though? If you really condense all these episodes down into half episodes, which they probably would have even benefited from doing, you could condense almost this entire season's storyline into almost maybe one half season. You know what I mean? And then we could have gotten, like, Spencer's death in, like, episode 4. We could have condensed we could have maybe had Ezekiel joining Rick with the fight right away, so we didn't have to build up, that conflict, even though I really liked Bury Me Here. We wouldn't maybe have needed that episode had Ezekiel just said yes right away, say yes, another reference to an episode. But I feel like if they would have really condensed it down, which I feel like it was possible, I feel like they could have done that. They could have condensed this all into one half season. But like I said, it gets tricky, because then, you got to put All Out War immediately after that, and All Out War means that would start at the second half of Season 7. But that should be an entire season storyline. We'll see when I do my review of Season 8, I'll touch on this more. We'll see if they, condense All Out War into one half season, or if they do it in a whole season. Because if they do it in a whole season, which I really think they should do, it'll be awesome. But if they condense it down into a half season, it just makes me think, well, why didn't you just condense Season 7 down into a half season, make it the first half, if All Out War is only going to be half season, put that as the second half of Season 7, so that way Season 7 can be like the Negan storyline. And then you can start with the New Beginning and, rebuilding Alexandria. You can start with that in Season 8, Those are just my thoughts, though, guys. I've been kind of thinking about this a little bit. I just think, kind of like I said, like Megapath Presents, great YouTuber, check him out. Similar to what he said, they really it was the structure that I think hurt them this season. If they would have just condensed it down a little bit more, they would have had a more season that I think would have gotten better ratings, would have been faster paced, and I think would have done the Negan storyline more justice than it currently, than they actually did it. So as a ranking for the season, going through the other seasons, I'd say, I don't know, the lowest one I'd probably rank prior to this, I'd probably give this like a 7 or a 7.5. Whatever rating I would give season 4. I would say season 4 is probably almost on par with this season. You know, both seasons have some great episodes mixed in with some average episodes. You know, but the average episodes outweigh the great episodes. That's the same way I felt about season 4 that I feel about this season. So probably like a 7 or a 7.5 rating, I would say. So yeah, let me know what you guys think down in the comments. I'll definitely be reading them. I try my best to respond to everyone. I'll also be doing my top whatever episodes of The Walking Dead. It's looking like it's going to be a 25 list right now. And then I might do top 10 characters, ranking the seasons. I love just doing Walking Dead videos because those tend to be my most viewed. So I'll probably continue doing them. Thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you next time.